Nigga, I told you, nigga. I told you, nigga. Until the day end, nigga, you can always on me, pussy.
The Untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing games are missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, Bob Arum said a lot of interesting things in regards to some undisputed fights that are coming that could be potentially happening in boxing. You know, he did a long interview on Barbershop Conversations channel, so shout out to Fred, who, whether you love him or hate him, you can't say he hasn't done great work over the years, because he has, and I've enjoyed a lot of his interviews and stuff over the years. So shout out to him. I'll leave a link to his interview down below. But listen, man, he talked about two fights that I'm sure would interest a lot of the subscribers of my channel and boxing fans in general. So he talked about a potential for a Tyson Fury, Alexander Usyk undisputed fight, and he talked about the potential of a Artur Beterbiev versus Beterbiev-Bivol undisputed fight. So here's what he said. We'll start with the Usyk versus Fury one. Here's what he said in regards to that fight. Now, he stated that he's had positive conversations with Team Usyk and all parties involved on that side. He said, I quote, "I would hope to do that fight in December, maybe, or early next year." So he's looking at, you know, making that fight. If Usyk can do what people expect him to do, which is going to be a tough task against a very, very prideful man, a very, a guy that has a lot to fight for in Anthony Joshua. You know, if he can beat him again, then he's looking at trying to make that undisputed fight early in the first quarter next year, first 3 months next year, first 3-4 months next year, or maybe even later on this year, if we could ever be so fortunate as fight fans. And I love that fight because, you know, everybody always talks about Joshua versus Fury, which is the big British super fight, but you know, Usyk versus Fury is a great fight. I think Fury versus Joshua is a better event. It's gonna be better if it can happen in the UK at Wembley Stadium. It's the much better event. It will literally stop the country. Okay, it'll be the biggest fight in the history of British boxing. So it's the better event, but it's not the better fight. The better fight is Usyk versus Fury, because for all the talk of you know, Tyson Fury, the reality is he's always struggled with the smaller heavyweights. When we look at the past of Fury, like when he fought Steve Cunningham, John McDermott, you know, these kind of Otto Wallin, who was not a small heavyweight, but, you know, a slightly smaller heavyweight. Usyk has a lot of things that could trouble him, and it looks like Usyk, if you look at him recently, he's starting to fill out and get a bit more bigger as a heavyweight, putting on a bit more muscle mass since the first Joshua fight. So maybe that could be a positive for him going into a Fury fight. I think Usyk has a style to beat Fury and really test him, take him to some place he's never been, because he's very accurate, southpaw, can box, can move, can punch a little bit. And we know that Tyson Fury doesn't exactly have a chin like George Chuvalo. So hopefully that fight can get done. It's good news from Bob Arum. Good stuff to hear from Bob Arum. And then as far as, you know, Beterbiev versus Bivol, which I think, in my opinion, guys, you know, in this light heavyweight division, we have so many great fights. We have so many great potential matchups. And we're going through a period in the light heavyweight division where a couple of dominoes have to fall before we get some of the dream fights. You know, Artur Beterbiev has a mandatory due in October against Mr. Lions in the Camp himself, Anthony Yarde. So he's got to beat him. And then it hasn't been formally announced yet, but it's expected that Bivol should be fighting none other than Gilberto Zorro Ramirez, who has the skills, who has the experience, the skills, and the mentality to really just fuck up the whole heavyweight division and beat Bivol as well. So they got to both beat those two opponents. And both those two guys, both Yarde and Zorro, are proud men. They're going to come to win. But if they get past those guys, Bob Arum said the following, and I quote, "Artur Beterbiev owns 3 titles. If he gets by Anthony Yarde, we have a result from Bivol versus Zorro Ramirez, then absolutely we want to give Beterbiev the opportunity to win 4 titles." So just going off of that quote, it looks like Bob Arum doesn't really care who wins the Bivol-Zorro fight, because I think even if Zorro actually winds up beating Bivol, it might actually be an easier fight to make, because from what I've read, you know, Zorro has a relatively positive working relationship with Top Rank. They just couldn't deliver on the fights he wanted at that time. That's okay, and then they mutually parted ways. But yeah, so look. I mean, if look for light heavyweight undisputed. If you leave it up to Bob Arum, the Bobfather wants to make these fights. Obviously, objectively speaking, I want Bivol versus Beterbiev because right now I genuinely feel in my heart that those are the two best light heavyweights in the world. I think it's the two best fighters in boxing at doing what they do. Because whether you like it or not, the knockout king in boxing is Artur Beterbiev. I know Virgil Ortiz has a 100% knockout ratio, but he ain't knocked out the caliber of fighters that Beterbiev's knocked out. And then I know Wilder has had the more like highlight reel knockouts, but hate to say it, his knockout ratio ain't 100%. So Beterbiev right now, he is boxing's knockout king, and he's a great boxer. He's a great, just technically sound boxer. Underrated technically sound boxer, if you ask me. And then you look at Bivol, who probably more than anybody in boxing right now has mastered the art of how to win a fight by outboxing you, by a UD. Okay? He just did it to Canelo Alvarez. He's done it to Joe Smith. He's done it to a whole lot of, solid competition in the light heavyweight division. So, something's got to give him that fight. Either Beterbiev finds a way to neutralize the boxing ability of Bivol, and maybe he can outbox him and flip the script and then beat him up and stop him late. Or does Bivol actually have to use all of his skills? Is Beterbiev good enough to make Bivol dig into every last bit of his tools and bring the best out of Bivol, So that'd be a great fight. Hopefully it can happen. But yeah, Bob Arum keeping things very optimistic about the undisputed possibilities in two of boxing's most historical weight classes, two of boxing's glamour divisions, the heavyweight division and the light heavyweight division, two of my favorite weight classes in boxing. So that's the news. Let me know what y'all think. What do y'all make of those potential matchups? Which one of the two scenarios do you think is more likely? Do you guys believe that we get a light heavyweight undisputed fight first, or do we get, if Usyk can beat Joshua, do we get Usyk versus Tyson Fury for the undisputed titles? And do you think Tyson Fury will even fight Usyk? Because I'll be honest with you, I like Fury. I'm a Tyson Fury fan, a huge fan of him. But I have my questions about whether or not Tyson Fury will be up to fighting Usyk. He talks a good game and all these kind of things. But if the money ain't quite what the money won't be what it is for Joshua, right? So if it's not going to be that and it's going to be a more difficult fight, has the potential to be a more difficult fight, will he be up for it? I'm not so sure. So, a lot of questions. Hopefully we get some answers to these questions in the coming months. But yeah. Let me know what y'all think in the comments down below. Make sure to take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me. But I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.
Thank you for watching True School Sports.
No, follow this kid. Oh. He's a true, it's a young, true, passionate person who follows boxing. He wakes up thinking about boxing and he goes to sleep thinking about boxing.
This is true.
Good kid, good man, and looking forward to seeing him everywhere in the boxing world.
Hey man, if you ain't subscribed to True School Sports, you fucking up, man. Make sure you subscribe, bro.
Fucking up big time.
Make sure, man.